there are certain equations which do reoccur, like the wave equation that I mentioned, like the heat diffusion equation, commonly just called the diffusion equation. It keeps on occurring in all branches of science, which again shows to the inquiring mind that there are certain principles in nature which are constantly reoccurring. The number e reoccurs all over mathematics, which is the natural logarithm number, natural base. The number pi keeps occurring. The square root of -1 keeps occurring in all sorts of stability problems. So the fact that mathematics reaches out into all these areas in recurring equations or recurring constants is very indicative that mathematics is extremely powerful. And you could almost say that it's the natural language of physics and the material world. But if we just left it there, we would be missing something. Because mathematics doesn't have to have the material world in order to exist, which it brings us into the area of what we call pure maths, where people imagine not a three-dimensional system, but why can't we have many more dimensions? And so they sometimes do a huge number of manipulations with mathematics in a totally abstract system which is no longer connected with reality. So they go away and think about these multi-dimensional problems, right? And they have a whole coded system for writing down many more dimensions than the familiar 3 that we have. And then they solve those equations, right? And they think that they're just playing. And in a sense, they are just playing. But the amazing power of mathematics is that when they've played in these totally abstract number of dimensions, they come out with solutions. And then they come back into the real world, and somebody says, well, actually, I could reconstruct my three-dimensional problem, which is in time and has a number of possible states, we call it. We could rewrite that problem that I'm dealing with as a pure mathematical n-dimensional problem. And suddenly, the pure mathematics that somebody else had been doing, completely disconnected with what this guy was perhaps worried about in the real world, suddenly becomes relevant. And that's why mathematics seems to have a power almost all of its own. The power of mathematics is in the sense that what you thought was only applicable, in this particular case, in an abstract problem, suddenly becomes relevant to a real problem. So mathematics is a very powerful tool. And it does indicate that it is transcendent to even our minds. It's really an illustration of the transcendence of God himself.